February 28, 2026, 3 a.m. in Tehran. In a residential district of the Iranian capital, a precision strike hits an armored convoy. No immediate claim of responsibility, no official statement, just an explosion. And then silence. A few hours later, the information that would change global geopolitics leaks onto Iranian social media before being censored. Ali Khamenei, Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic for 34 years, the man who survived an assassination attempt in 1981, the man the world believed untouchable, is dead. Stop for a second. 34 years. That is longer than most world leaders have held power. It's longer than some of you have been alive. And in the space of one night, that era ended, not through a planned succession, not by the will of an assembly of theologians meeting in peace, but under the falling of bombs. Now we have to understand what happens next, because what just occurred isn't simply the death of a man. It is the triggering of a mechanism the world hasn't seen since the end of the Cold War. Stay with me. What you are about to hear in the next few minutes will redefine your understanding of the stakes in the Middle East. And believe me, you need to understand this. The 10-day vacuum 10 days. That's how long it took for Iran to designate a new supreme leader. 10 days during which the entire world held its breath, oil markets panicked, and Western embassies frantically evacuated their citizens. The name that emerged from this chaos, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of Ali Khamenei. On paper, it looks like a classic dynastic transition. A father dies, the son takes power. We've seen it in Syria with the Assads. We've seen it in North Korea with the Kims. Except, in Iran, it's not supposed to work like that. The Iranian constitution is clear. The supreme leader must be a marja, a grand ayatollah, a supreme religious authority recognized by the community of Shia clerics. This is the fundamental rule. It is what grants the leader legitimacy that is not just political, but spiritual. It makes him not only a head of state, but a representative of God on earth, according to Khomeinist ideology. Mojtaba Khamenei is not a grand ayatollah. He is a Hojjatul Islam, the rank just below. Technically, constitutionally, his appointment is an anomaly. Some would go as far as to call it a violation. So why did it happen anyway? Because the Assembly of Experts, the only body authorized to appoint the leader, met in an extraordinary session at night in a secure bunker somewhere beneath Tehran. The deliberations lasted less than 6 hours. When they emerged, the choice was made. Here's what the official press releases aren't telling you. This vote was not a theological consensus. It was a vote for survival. The members of the assembly had a metaphorical gun to their heads. Appointing Mojtaba was choosing continuity over chaos. It was a signal to the world. Iran is not collapsing. Iran has a successor. Iran moves forward. But at what price? The shadow operator. To understand who Mojtaba Khamenei is, you have to forget the image of the cleric in robes and a turban reciting Quranic verses. That image is Iran's public facade. Behind it lies another reality, one that Western intelligence services know well, even if it has never been clearly explained to the public. Mojtaba Khamenei is 55 years old. He is discreet, almost invisible in the Iranian public sphere. You don't see him giving flamboyant speeches. You don't hear him promising prosperity to the Iranian people. He operates in the shadows, and that is precisely why he is dangerous. For years, Mojtaba has been his father's most trusted man for the regime's most sensitive operations, not diplomatic operations, but the ones that cannot be traced back to the leader's office, the operations that officially do not exist. In 2009, when millions of Iranians took to the streets to protest the presidential election results, the Green Movement, one of the most significant uprisings in modern Iranian history, it was Mojtaba who oversaw the crackdown, the mass arrests, the disappearances, the silent executions, the hundreds of activists who simply ceased to exist. He is the one who coordinates the network of pro-Iranian militias in the region, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, armed factions in Iraq and Syria. What analysts call the axis of resistance, that sprawling network that allows Iran to project power without deploying its own soldiers, is largely his handiwork. And most importantly, he controls the Revolutionary Guard, IRGC, the army within the army, the force that possesses its own ballistic missiles, its own navy, its own intelligence services, and its own economic empires. The IRGC isn't just a military force, it is a state within a state, with economic interests representing, by some estimates, up to a third of the Iranian economy. When Mojtaba speaks to the IRGC commanders, they listen. Not out of religious respect. He lacks the theological stature for that. They listen because he represents the continuity of the system that enriched them, protected them, and gave them power. They know that if the regime falls, they fall with it. What you have with Mojtaba Khamenei is something new in the history of the Islamic Republic. You no longer have a cleric commanding soldiers. You have a shadow operator, an intelligence man, a survival strategist, nominally leading a theocratic state, for which he lacks the required religious legitimacy. It is an explosive contradiction, and in the hands of a man like him, explosive contradictions usually lead to only one outcome. The view from the outside. The world didn't wait long to react, and the rhetoric heard in the hours following Mojtaba's appointment exceeds the usual brutality of diplomatic chambers. Donald Trump spoke out from Mar-a-Lago, not from the White House, not in an official statement carefully weighed by legal and diplomatic teams. He spoke from his private residence with the bluntness, some would say recklessness, that defines him. This choice is unacceptable. This new leader will not last long without my approval. Read that sentence again. A sitting U.S. president just stated publicly that the survival of the new head of state of a sovereign nation of 85 million people depends on his personal approval. This is unprecedented in modern diplomatic history. Even during the worst moments of the Cold War, even in the tensest exchanges between Washington and Moscow, that phrasing was never used. What does this mean concretely? It means the Trump administration does not recognize Mojtaba Khamenei's legitimacy. It means Washington reserves all rights, including the right to military action, against him. It means the maximum pressure policy, the withdrawal from the nuclear deal, devastating economic sanctions, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani will not only continue but intensify. On the Israeli side, the response was even more direct. Netanyahu's security cabinet officially designated Mojtaba Khamenei as a legitimate military target the moment he took office, not as an adversary, not as a threat to be monitored, as a target, a man to be eliminated. This is the first time in history that the Israeli government has so openly and quickly announced its intention to eliminate the sitting leader of another country. It tells us something essential about how Tel Aviv perceives this new chapter. There are no more gray zones. There is no more time for diplomacy. The strike that killed Ali Khamenei, which Israel has neither confirmed nor denied, was already an unofficial declaration of war. The designation of Mojtaba as a target is the confirmation that this war is ongoing. But here is what neither Trump nor Netanyahu seem to have calculated. By labeling Mojtaba illegitimate, by putting him in their crosshairs from day one, they aren't weakening him. They are strengthening him. In the logic of the Iranian regime, nothing unites the ranks like an external threat. Nothing justifies a permanent state of war better than having a declared enemy at your borders, and now, inside your own palaces. This morning, Mojtaba Khamenei is a hunted man leading a hunted state, and hunted men do not compromise. They survive, or they burn everything down. The cost at your doorstep. Let's talk about how this affects you directly, not geopolitically, concretely, in your daily life. Did you fill up your car this week? Did you look at the price at the pump? It went up, not because of demand, not because of a market whim, because of what is happening in a strip of water only 34 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil, 20%. The entire production of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran itself. It all passes through there. And that strait is bordered to the north by the Iranian coast. The IRGC has bases there. They have anti-ship missiles. They have submarines. And since Mojtaba's appointment, they have surged their presence. Several shipping companies have already suspended their routes through the Persian Gulf. Insurers have tripled their premiums for tankers crossing the zone. The price of a barrel has increased by 14% since the announcement of Ali Khamenei's death. 14% in 10 days. If Mojtaba were to order a blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, even a partial temporary one, Economists estimate we would be talking about a global recession in weeks, not months. Weeks. It is the most powerful weapon he possesses. And he doesn't even need to fire a missile to use it. He only needs to threaten to do so. And then there is the nuclear question, the one that keeps intelligence services awake at night. Would you like me to continue translating the next section, or help you develop the narrative for the nuclear question chapter?